He didn't remember her name. Not until the night he saw her again. Under chandeliers. Surrounded by millionaires. And men just like him. 10 years had passed since that night. The night he said he wasn't ready. The night he left without hearing her say she was pregnant. He told himself she'd be fine. She was strong. She'd move on. He never imagined he was walking away from more than just her. Now, here he was. Richer. More powerful. And more hollow than he knew. The gala buzzed with laughter and deals. He wasn't listening. Until he heard a soft voice behind him. Familiar. But different. He turned. And everything around him stopped. There she stood. Hair pinned up like a memory. Black dress graceful but quiet. Eyes sharp but tired. And beside her, a little girl in a white shirt and navy tie. 10 years old. Light brown hair. And a face he didn't have to question. He forgot how to breathe. She didn't smile. Didn't cry. Didn't say his name. She just looked at him. Like she was waiting for him to speak first. For once. And he did. Is she? The woman turned her head slightly. Nodded. Once. And then took her daughter's hand. No scene. No drama. No public breakdown. Just truth. He wanted to follow. Say something. Do anything. But his feet were locked in the floor like cement. He watched them walk toward the exit. Two strangers. That once could have been his whole life. He sat alone later that night. In the hotel's top floor lounge. Whiskey untouched. Everyone else had gone home. Deals were signed. Speeches delivered. Photos taken. But his mind was stuck on one face. A smaller version of himself. A child he didn't know existed. Until today. He thought of that night again. 10 years ago. The night she told him she loved him. And he said love was a weakness. She told him she was late. He told her not to ruin his momentum. She told him she wasn't sure what to do. He told her to figure it out. Without him. And he walked out. It had felt strong then. Powerful. Decisive. Now it felt like cowardice dressed as confidence. The next morning. He tracked her down. She hadn't left town. He found her at a bookstore. A small quiet one. No assistants. No cameras. Just her. Sorting shelves. In jeans and a loose white sweater. The girl sat near the counter. Reading silently. Legs swinging. Mouth moving with every word. He stood there. Watching. Afraid to speak. Until she looked up. The girl. Her eyes met his. And she didn't look away. Didn't blink. She just stared. Like she knew. Even if no one had told her. She said nothing. But the book in her hand slipped. And he caught it. Their hands touched for the briefest second. And something inside him cracked. He looked up at the woman. And whispered. I didn't know. Her voice came back low. Steady. Sharp. You didn't ask. The woman turned back to her shelf. Hands shaking slightly. But her face stayed calm. Too calm. He stood behind her. Not moving. Not sure if he had the right to speak again. 10 years of silence. And now he wanted to talk. Now he wanted answers. From the woman he gave none to. He looked at the girl again. Still reading. Still quiet. She was wearing a bracelet. Simple. Plastic. But handmade. Beads that spelled out a name. Lila. He whispered it without meaning to. And the woman froze. You don't get to say her name, she said. Her back still to him. Voice low. But full of everything she never got to scream back then. He stepped closer. You should have told me, he said. It wasn't your choice to make alone. She turned now. Her eyes sharp. I didn't make it alone. You made it alone when you walked away. His breath caught. Because he couldn't argue with that. She wasn't raising her voice. She didn't need to. She wasn't angry for drama. She was angry because it was earned. I begged you, she said. In that hotel room. I told you I was scared. You told me to be strong. I told you I was late. You told me you had a flight to catch. I asked if you'd still be here. You laughed. Every word hit like a quiet slap. The little girl looked up. She couldn't hear all of it. But she saw the tension. She saw her mother's eyes. And the man who looked like her. Staring like he'd just seen a ghost. She stood up. And walked over slowly. Book still in her hand. Mama, she said softly. And the woman knelt down instantly. Arms around her daughter. Voice changing. Warmer. Safer. I'm right here, baby. We're okay. But Lila's eyes stayed on the man. Curious. Cautious. And still silent. He knelt down too. Not too close. Not to scare her. Just close enough to meet her at eye level. I'm a friend of your mom's, he said quietly. And even he could hear the lie in his voice. Lila looked at her mother. Then back at him. And said the one thing that shattered him. You look like me. The woman stood up quickly. You should go, she said. Not harsh. But final. I don't want her confused. I've kept her life clean. You don't get to bring chaos into it now. Not after 10 years of silence. He nodded. But didn't move. His feet were rooted in the tile. Like they had been at the gala. Like they always were when it came to running from feelings. I just want to know her. Not take anything. Just know. The woman folded her arms. You want to know her now. After 10 birthdays. After her first word. After her first fall. After every fever. Every drawing on the fridge. Every night she asked if daddies were real. You want to know her now? Silence. He couldn't answer that. There was no answer that wouldn't bleed. Lila looked between them. Eyes wide. Soft. But she wasn't crying. She was listening. She had her mother's stillness. But his eyes. And he saw himself. At 10. Alone in boarding school. Trying to make sense of missing pieces. Now he was the piece that had gone missing. Finally. The woman exhaled. Softly. Tired. Not angry anymore. She doesn't know you exist, she said. I never told her. Not because I wanted to protect her from you. But because I didn't want her to grow up. Waiting for someone who wouldn't come. He swallowed. I came now. She looked down. Then back at him. Then stay away. Until you're ready to come back for real. Because if you walk out again, I won't explain it to her twice. Lila reached up. Touched her mother's hand. Can we go home? And just like that. It was over. They walked out the door. The little bell above it rang like a full stop. And he stood alone. Again. But this time. He didn't leave angry. Or proud. Or powerful. He left broken, carrying the name of a little girl he never raised, but who now lived in every corner of his thoughts. Lila. We'll move from confrontation to secret observation, from shame to silent longing, and finally, to the moment where the daughter starts sensing the truth before anyone says it. He didn't sleep. Not that night. Not the next. Lila's face followed him everywhere. In the corners of hotel mirrors. In the silence of airport lounges. In the flicker of headlights on the highway. He knew she didn't know him. But she had seen him. And in that single moment, he felt something he never expected again. Hope. He had spent his whole life mastering timing. Stocks. Deals. Markets. But he'd missed the timing that mattered most. Now. He was late. But he wasn't done. 3 days later. He went back. He didn't go inside the bookstore. Didn't knock. Didn't ask for anything. He just sat in his car. Watched through the window. Lila behind the counter. Sorting pencils into jars. She was humming. Smiling. Completely unaware that the man parked across the street was trying to memorize every second of her life. He stayed for hours. Didn't call. Didn't speak. Just watched. And every time she smiled, it hit him like a soft punch in the ribs. Because he hadn't earned any of it. But he wanted all of it. Later that week, he came back again. This time, he brought something. Not flowers. Not gifts. Just a sketchbook. And a note. He waited until they closed. Until the lights went off. Then left it at the door. The note said, "This isn't for me. It's for her. She doesn't need to call me anything. She doesn't even need to know who I am. But she deserves to create. Even if I never get to be part of what she builds. No name. No signature. Just the truth." The woman found it. And read the note under the glow of her kitchen lamp. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She just placed it on the table. And watched Lila pick it up the next morning. "Who's it from?" Lila asked. The mother paused. Then simply said, "I don't know." Because part of her didn't. Not anymore. Lila carried the sketchbook everywhere after that. Filled it with stories. With eyes that looked like hers. With towers and briefcases. And men who stood outside windows. And one day, she drew a man sitting in a car. Across the street. Watching. Waiting. Her mother saw it. Paused. And asked gently, "What's that?" Lila shrugged. "I don't know. Just someone I see sometimes. He's always there. He never comes inside. But he looks like he's waiting for someone." Her mother felt her heart drop. She walked over. Knelt down. Held Lila's hand. "Sweetheart. If anyone ever makes you feel unsafe." "He doesn't," Lila interrupted. "He makes me feel like I've met him before. But I don't remember where." That night, the woman stood on the porch, holding the sketchbook, waiting. And just as the streetlight flickered on, she saw the black car again. Same spot. Same man. She walked across. Without fear. Without hesitation. He rolled the window down. Eyes tired. Face quiet. "She's drawing you," the woman said. He blinked. Didn't respond. "She's not stupid. She feels something. Even if I don't say it." He looked away. Then back. I'm not asking to be in her life. I'm asking to be near it. Until she's ready. Until you're ready. Or until I'm told to go. The woman stared at him. Really stared. And finally said, "She deserves to choose. When she's ready. You'll know." And she turned. And walked back. He didn't move. Didn't drive away. Because for the first time in 10 years, he had something he never thought he'd have again. Permission to hope. Not forgiveness. Not redemption. Just a window. And maybe that was enough. For now. Lila was quiet that morning. She wasn't sad. She wasn't confused. Just quiet in a way that meant something was happening inside her that hadn't found words yet. She sat at the kitchen table with her sketchbook open, flipping slowly through the pages. Her fingers hovered over each one. The girl with the telescope. The bookstore window. The man in the black car. That sketch always made her pause. The man was never detailed. Just his outline. But she'd drawn him over and over. Sometimes across the street. Sometimes outside the gala. Sometimes in the corner of her dreams. She looked up at her mother, who was pouring cereal like it was just another Tuesday. But it wasn't. "Mom," Lila said quietly. Her mother turned, spoon in hand. Lila tilted her head. "Did he used to love you?" The spoon didn't move. The milk stopped pouring. And her mother, for once, didn't say, "Where is this coming from?" or "Eat your breakfast." She just looked at her daughter for a long, silent moment. And said, "Yes." Lila's fingers curled slightly against the page. "Enough to stay?" Her mother blinked. "No," she said. "But maybe enough to want to." That was the first time Lila had ever asked a question about him directly. And her mother didn't try to deflect it. She didn't protect her from it. She didn't lie. She just let the truth breathe. "Do I look like him?" Lila asked. Her mother walked over and sat down beside her. "Yes. But not the way you think. Not your face. Not just your eyes. You stare like him. You hold things inside like him. You wait before you speak. Like the words are still deciding if they're brave enough to be real." Lila stared at the page again. "I see him," she said. Her mother's breath caught. "Where?" Lila pointed to the window. "Sometimes. Not always. But I think he's the man in the car." Her mother didn't deny it. She didn't panic. She just took her daughter's hand and squeezed it. "Why doesn't he come in?" Lila asked. Her mother smiled, barely. "Because he doesn't know if he's allowed to." Lila was quiet again. Then she closed her sketchbook slowly. "Can we go to that place again?" "What place?" "The gala. Where the lights are gold. Where you wore the black dress. Where I first saw him up close." Her mother hesitated. "Why?" Lila shrugged. "Because I want to know if he'll be there." Her mother looked at her daughter, really looked. And she didn't see a child asking for attention. She saw a girl who had already drawn the map of her truth. Who just needed someone to walk it with her. That night they dressed simply. Not to impress. Not to be noticed. They stood across the street at first. Just watching. The glass windows glowed with chandeliers inside. Laughter echoed. Suits passed wine glasses. And parked at the same spot near the corner of the street was the car. Lila didn't wait for permission. She walked toward it. And the door opened. He had seen her too. He stepped out slowly, hands nervous, unsure what to do. She stood in front of him. Just a girl. 10 years of unspoken questions in her chest. "You don't have to say it," she said. He blinked. "Say what?" "That you're my dad." "I know." His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Lila looked up at him, not like a child demanding answers, but like someone who had already accepted them. "I don't need you to fix anything," she said. "But I want to know you're real. I want to know you're not just a man in the corner of my pages." He knelt down slowly, so he was eye level with her. "I am real," he whispered. She nodded. "Then don't disappear." Behind them, her mother stood still. Watching. Not interfering. Just letting it happen. Lila reached into her bag and pulled out a drawing. It was new. Unfinished. Just pencil lines. But it showed 3 figures. Not standing in a row. Not posing. Just close. She handed it to him. "I don't know how the rest looks yet," she said. "But maybe you'll be there when I finish it." He took the drawing with both hands. Like it was the first thing anyone had ever trusted him with. Weeks passed. They didn't rush. He didn't ask to stay the night. Didn't demand holidays. Didn't try to replace anything. He came to the bookstore sometimes. Sat on the floor while she read. Brought her coffee once with the exact amount of sugar. Remembered her birthday. And slowly, his presence became part of her silence. Not loud. Not bold. Just safe. One afternoon, Lila asked her mom, "Do you think he ever wished he hadn't left?" Her mother paused. "Every day." "Then why didn't he come sooner?" Her mother looked out the window. "Because shame walks slower than love." 1 year later, the gala happened again. Same hall. Same lights. Same music. But this time, he wasn't standing alone in the back. He walked in with Lila. She wore a navy dress. He wore the same tuxedo. She held his hand. Not tight. Just enough. People turned. Whispers stirred. But none of it mattered. A woman walked over. Polite smile. Red lipstick. "Oh, is this your daughter?" she asked. He looked down at Lila. Then back up. And without hesitation, without fear, without waiting for permission, he said,